Hello everyone, TAC1421 here with another episode of Pokemon TCG Online. Got a game of Weavile, Exeggcute, Lopunny. As promised, I had the first episode of of Weavile, Exeggcute with fossils. Now this is an updated version. As promised, I'm bringing it for everyone. I have a bunch of games under my belt, and this was one of the easier games to commentate on and kind of show you how the deck works, because everything ran pretty smoothly as it normally does with this deck. And I only play about 7 or 8 supporters. I play 4 Juniper, 2 Chorus, 1 N, and I forget if I was still playing a Shauna or not in this one. I might have. And then I also play 1 Lysander. So about 7 or 8 of the supporters. And what allows me to do that is Jirachi. I can always level ball or ultra ball or great ball even for a Jirachi. And I always want to see how many Exeggcutes I have prized, if any, and if I have Jirachi prized, because you can run into problems there. Excuse me. Wow. Okay. Anyways, I've been sick for a little bit, so stay with me here. But what I'm looking for, I'm looking to see what I should get. And it looks like I'm going to get another Exeggcute, I think. Yeah, there we go. So get another Exeggcute, and therefore I can Dowsing Machine. I was still playing Dowsing Machine. Normally I play Scoop Up Cyclone with this deck. I didn't have it yet. Now I have it, which is nice. So normally I do that. And I'm going to go ahead and get myself a level ball. And I'm going to go ahead and get myself that Jirachi, so I can Jirachi for a Juniper. But as I was saying before, what allows me to play such a low supporter count is there's so many different level balls and ultra balls and great balls in the deck that you really get all that you need early on, and you go through your deck so fast, which you'll actually see in this video. And also I'm going to post another video of this gameplay where I was actually playing a counter deck to this, believe it or not. And what counters this deck is going to be your Garbodor. And it really hurts this deck because you can't use any of the abilities. The deck really relies on the abilities. Everything except for Weavile has an ability. So I'll go ahead and explain the deck and how it's based. If you have a decision between who you want to start out with, normally you're going to go with the Binary and start that off. And the reason for this is because it can tank some hits at the very beginning, and then you can always go into Lopunny. And you can see there I have 4 Exeggcutes in the discard pile first turn, which is what you want to do, want to try to do. Sometimes it's not a possibility, but if you can do it, go for it. Got it. Good. So anyways, right here, I am actually left with no supporters. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually trying to fake out my opponent to end me, thinking I have a perfect hand. I have the Lopunny in hand, Weavile in hand, which they both saw both of those cards. And I'm going to be like, you know what? End me, sir, because I don't have a great hand. I made it look like I have a good hand, like I have everything for next turn, but really I don't. But yeah, so Lopunny has the big jump ability, which is why you want to start out with it. You can evolve it turn 2, and then it goes back in your hand. So if there's any like damage on it, or if there's any like poison damage from any lasers or anything like that, you can put it back in your hand right away. You can also set that up with Weavile if you don't have any Exeggcutes in the discard pile, or you need more damage to add on if you're facing like an EX, which needs like 170, 180 damage. You get the 4 Exeggcutes for 120 damage because you're streaming those Exeggcutes with propagation, similar to the other gameplay. And then your Binary, you're going to get the 2 cards back. I play 1 Ditto in this deck. Normally I play 2, but I play 1 in this one. And then so you can get up to 3 cards back from the big jump. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and get myself a Binary from the level ball. That's at least what I should do. And I might get a Weavile, set up another Weavile too. But there's the Binary, which is fantastic. You want to try to get 2, or there's a Lopunny, I should say. You want to try to get 2 Binaries on the field, and by doing this, you can big jump, and then you can also evolve again onto another Lopunny. So right here, I'm going to get 2 of my Exeggcutes back into my hand, and I'm going to Ultra Ball them away, and probably get another Weavile, which is great. And you can see my opponent, I didn't mention what my opponent's playing. They appear to be playing some kind of Aromatisse-based deck. A lot of these decks have been featuring Kangaskhan, which is actually what my opponent's playing. So going into this, I thought it was either some kind of Xerneas deck or some kind of Mega Kangaskhan deck, and my bet was on Mega Kangaskhan. And this kind of shows how slow Mega Kangaskhan can be. First of all, you might not get it turn 1. Second of all, it just goes pretty slow because you have to burn a turn Mega Evolving. But I'm going to go ahead and use Transform on a Ditto and put Baneri down. And the reason for this is because I can later in the game, if I need to, I can use Baneri, I can use Lopunny's ability to bring back 3 cards for whatever reason. And that's nice because I am playing Mega Kangaskhan, which has a 230 damage, which is crazy. And people say there's nothing in the format that can take on Mega Kangaskhan besides maybe like a Landorus. Well, you got to add Weavile to that list because Weavile is going to be hitting for a huge ton of damage. 11 cards is 330 damage. It's the most damage I've ever done yet, not including weakness. So I've played about, a lot of games with this deck, actually. I played at League over the weekend. It did very well. Pretty much this exact version of it, but I was playing Scoop Up Cyclone with it. In this gameplay, I'm actually not playing. I was playing the Dowsing Machine. I already burned the Dowsing Machine early in the game. And I'm also playing 2 random receivers because I'm playing such a low supporter count. And then I'm also playing 2 of the Pal Pads. So that, again, lets me play such a low supporter count. Normally, you're going to be trying to Pal Pad 4 of the Lysander and then just stream those if you can. But, it happens. I also play 2 Super Rods just in case I get into problem, and then a Dark Patch. So you can always go into your discard pile, Dark Patch a Dark Energy on. You definitely want to put the energies onto those Weaviles as soon as you possibly can. There's a Cernius, pretty cool, and there's the Kangaskhan EX. Kangaskhan is definitely a pretty darn cool Pokemon. I really like the idea of this deck that he's playing, my opponent's playing, but again, it's too slow. I think it's you got to get things going really early. And with a deck like Weavile, which is actually a very fast deck, because you can be doing 120 plus damage on turn 2. So it's a really fast deck. The only time you can really go into problem with Weavile is if you don't draw a supporter at the very beginning of the game. And if you're Jirachi's prize. Some decks might actually run 2 Jirachis, so you don't run into that problem. You can also run... I also have 2 of the Sableyes in here in case I run into problems. And again, I have another gameplay of another deck featuring, or I was playing against a counter deck to this, which was the Garbodor, and it was a really, really interesting game. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll probably post that next after this video, and then I'll try to move on to some other decks because I know people don't just want to see Weavile. That's currently all the cards I have, really, is the only deck that I have built. But I hope in the future to make more decks. I'm trying to build a Greninja deck. I'm trying to build a Blastoise, Keldeo, Black Kyurem deck. That's going to take some time because those are hard cards to get. And then I'm pretty close to building a Genesect Virizion deck with both Raichu. I play with a 2/2 Raichu line, and then I also play it with a Roselia, or Roserade. Roserade's the name of it. 2/2 Roserade line. And Roserade's more consistent, but Raichu's better for the Yveltal matchup. And Yveltal is definitely the best deck in format. I think that's pretty hard to argue against Yveltal being the best deck in format. Tournament results kind of show that it's just that dominant, and it's getting the most top cuts, it's getting the most wins, so it's definitely the best deck. So I think Raichu is pretty much the best counter right now. TDK is a pretty good counter, but I think Raichu is definitely a really solid counter, and you can even see some decks playing Yveltal Raichu just for the counter matchup. But here we go. Finally, my opponent actually gets the Kangaskhan up here, and once it gets rolling, it's a very nice deck, and especially against non-EX decks because it is hitting for that 100 damage right off the bat. And you get to... The way the deck works is, in theory, nothing can one-shot the Mega Kangaskhan, but this deck can, unfortunately. And you can see my opponent actually plays the fire guy there, Victini. The flip Victini, which was reprinted in Legendary Collection, Legendary Treasures, whatever the name of it's called. And this allows you to reflip once per turn if you get a Tails that you don't like. And you can see that base 100 damage. I believe Kangaskhan does 70 plus 30. and then Mega Kangaskhan does 100 plus 30 for every head. So, so yeah, it's hitting for a good amount of damage. Luckily, I did have the Weavile on the bench ready to go, and he's gonna probably have to waste a turn if he ever wants to Mega Evolve. But you can just see the power here of Weavile. And I mentioned this in my last video with the fossils, is you want to prioritize using your Exeggcutes first for the 120 damage if you have all 4 in the discard. And then if you can, you want to use cards that you don't necessarily need in your hand if you need to do more damage. You want to save things that if you just want to do the amount of damage necessary to knock it out. And you want to save things that you may need later on. Like, I'm not going to use the Benaries if I don't have to, and the Lopunnies if I don't have to use them to knock them out. So I'm going to need 6 Pokemon here to get the full knockout. The 4 Exeggcute is probably what I'm going to use. I'm probably going to use one of those Weaviles, and then I might use either a Ditto or a Benary, or maybe a Lopunny. So we'll have to see what I use here. I kind of forget. But I love the shiny Exeggcutes. They really, you know, they're a lot different than those regular Exeggcutes. They look really cool too, and you can see it takes a very long time to do this in the online game. But really, if you're playing as a deck at a table, you can just say propagate 4 times, you know, get them really quickly, and then you can say big jump real quickly, and it goes a lot faster when you're actually playing. So I'm gonna vilify right here. I don't think I mentioned the actual attack. Does 30 damage times the amount of Pokemon you discard. That's how Exeggcute works with the deck with the propagation. We get it once per turn. So I'm gonna go ahead and vilify. I'm actually gonna save the Weavile here. I'm gonna actually use both the Benary and the Lopunny there to get that knockout. A very, very nice knockout. I actually draw into a Lopunny. I knew one was prized, so I wasn't sure if I was going to get it or not. That's probably maybe my reasoning behind getting rid of both Benary and Lopunny. But in hindsight, should have probably put the Benary on the bench, and then if he didn't end me, I could have used the Lopunny, and then we could have gone from there. But you can see I actually get a Lopunny from this end, and I'm not really too worried about ends at this point. You know, I definitely want to get some more, you know, energies onto my next Weavile just in case. But at this point, it's looking pretty darn good. You know, my opponent can't really do too much. As I draw into a Dark Patch and a Lysand or a Lysander, which is really nice. So actually, this is pretty much game right here. You know, I have the Lysander in hand. I'm going to knock out this Victini. I'm going to have one more prize left to go, and there's not going to be anything he can do because he's going to have to knock out both of my Weaviles in one turn, and there's no way for him to do that with his deck. Other decks might be able to with like Greninja if you get kind of cool and do some kind of clever things. But another reason I like to use Scoop Up Cyclone, you can see my Jirachi's been sitting on the bench here for a while. If you play Jirachi early on in the game, which usually tends to happen, you can always Scoop Up Cyclone the Jirachi back in your hand and then, you know, use it again, use its ability again, or you can even use it as a way of dishing out damage, doing 30 more damage. So that's really nice too. So yeah, this game is coming to a close. I want to let everyone know, or I guess in the comments down below, what do you think about this Weavile Lopunny Exeggcute deck? I think it's a really cool deck. I am going to be playing it. I have a gameplay of it against a Yveltal deck. It was a Yveltal Trubbish, not Trubbish, the evolved form of Trubbish. I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of it, but Garbodor. There we go. So Trubbish, Garbodor. You can see he plays a Jirachi here. Probably a good supporter. But yeah, he was playing. I have another gameplay of a Yveltal Garbodor game, and it was a really awesome game. I came from behind to win that one, and it was really close. But you can see there 160 damage, which if you had a Muscle Band on there, would have knocked out a EX Pokemon. So that's the power of Mega Kangaskhan. And the theory is you play it with you know, Max Potion, and from there you can essentially, you know, just keep healing up every single time, and they can't do much damage to you. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to do as much damage as possible right here. I'm going to get all 4 of my Exeggcutes back, and then I'm also going to big jump the 3 back into my hand. So we're going to be hitting with 2, 6, 9. We're going to be doing about, let me do the math, 270 damage, I think, if I did that correctly, onto this Mega Kangaskhan. So prior to, past belief, Mega Kangaskhan can get one shot. So there's that. This is definitely not a great matchup for Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan, if it gets set up really fast, definitely will be able to, dish out a lot of damage against a lot of different decks, but you really need 3 turns to really be set up completely. You need 3 turns of attaching. You can use DCE, but it's very, very rare that you get like the turn 2 Mega Kangaskhan hitting for 100 plus. So that's going to be the game. Thanks for my opponent for not quitting and actually giving me a good game. This was well fought by him, even though he didn't have a great start, and I had a monstrous start. But that's really, Weavile has pretty good starts. I've had some pretty good starts. The only time you run into problems is when you have to like start with Exeggcute, which doesn't happen very often because you do have 9 other Pokemon to start with: the Benaries, the Dittos, actually 11 if you count your Sableye too. But you can see how much damage I dished out, and the amount of cards I drew was crazy. And that's not even like the craziest stats I've had with this deck. So yeah, good game to my opponent. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this game and about the deck, and hopefully you guys can give this video a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. I'll see you over next time. Peace.